So the trends are quite clear. The global economy faces some tough times ahead. Conducting any economic activity will be difficult and more expensive. So what is the solution? Diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Build more options. And India is doing that with Russia, working on more options to collaborate. Despite pressure from the West, India wants to trade more with Russia. India wants to go beyond importing oil. India wants to export goods to Russia. Quick question. What do countries need to trade with each other? Fundamentally, two things. Trading routes, which is a way to move the goods, and banking channels, a way to pay for those goods. Western sanctions have completely disrupted the traditional way of doing business with Russia. Key Russian banks are no longer connected to the global banking network. The war has also affected movement of goods. So how will India do business with Russia? By building its own mechanisms. There is no other way. And that's exactly what India is up to. First, the trade routes. India already has an alternative in place. It is called the International North-South Transport Corridor, INSTC. This is basically a shipping route. It connects Russia to India via Iran. It can be used by Russia to export goods to India and vice versa, for India to export goods to Russia. This route is currently being tested. Russia recently dispatched a consignment from St. Petersburg. There were 2 containers of wood laminates that were dispatched. After leaving St. Petersburg, the shipment will transit through 3 stops. The first one is the Caspian port of Astrakhan. The second is the Iranian port of Anzali. And from here, the shipment will be loaded onto the trucks. It will be moved via road to the 3rd stop, which is the Bandar Abbas port. This is on the Strait of Hormuz. Here, the consignment will be loaded again on a ship. It will be delivered to India in Mumbai. This entire journey will take less than 25 days. Earlier, such a delivery from Russia to India took nearly 40 days. So once this route is operational, it will be the fastest way to move goods between Russia and India. It can effectively replace the Suez Canal route. So we have a trade route in place. What about banking channels? India has a plan for that too. It can pay Moscow in rupees for Indian goods. Here's what New Delhi can do. Right now, India has some deposits in Russian banks, the VTB Bank and the Spare Bank of Russia. Both are state-controlled banks. How much money does India have in these banks? About $2 billion. It's in Indian rupees, $2 billion. This can be used to pay for Russian imports. A team of Russian officials is visiting New Delhi. A plan could be finalized soon. Earlier, a rupee-ruble trading mechanism was being considered. But those plans might not work out because there's extreme volatility when it comes to the Russian currency. The ruble is highly volatile. So there is a possibility that all transactions between Russia and India could be done in the rupee moving forward. India needs a permanent paying system with Russia. It wants to boost its trade with Russia, especially exports. The total value of bilateral trade stands at over $13 billion. India's trade deficit with Russia is $6.61 billion, meaning India imports more than it exports. And India wants to close this gap. It is pursuing specific targets. India wants to export $2 billion worth of goods to Russia this year. $2 billion. What kind of goods? Pharmaceuticals, plastics, chemicals, home furnishings, rice, beverages like tea and coffee, even milk products. Basically, the kind of products that Russia earlier imported from the West. You see, the US and its allies have halted all of these shipments. And that's where India comes in, to plug the supply gaps, to give Russia what the West is not giving. And I know what you're thinking. The world is shunning Russia. So why does India want to trade with them? And there's a simple answer to this question. India's policy towards Russia is not defined by the Western view of Moscow. It is defined by realpolitik. The primary mission of Indian foreign policy is to further India's interests. A developing economy needs cheaper fuel. A developing economy needs a marketplace for its products. And that does not mean that you have to support Russia's actions in Ukraine. The invasion must be condemned. The fighting has to stop. But the global economy also needs to be stabilized. It is under distress. India needs to look out for itself, pursue the opportunities that present themselves. This is in the interest of India's economy and India's people. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.